On the stand is Carolyn. Her name is Carolyn. Her last name is Aguayo, and the defendant's other daughter. So that's who's on the stand, and she's on direct examination. You don't want to miss this.
What did you explain to your dad about the situation, and what was his response?
We tried another sit down where we said, look, we have to do this a certain way. We have to go by the book. Otherwise, all of this is going to get messed up. There's no reason to not have a contract on someone. Okay,
so all of these things came to his attention directly by you and Gio. What was his response?
He was angry. He said, well, I guess I can't do it your way. And we kept trying to reiterate, it's not our way, it's the bank's way. We're not trying to be stubborn. There's codes when you build. It's not codes we came up with. Everybody has to build. Even if you put a porch on your house, you have to do it by code.
And at this time, were they living in the house with you?
At this time, they had a basement apartment under a family on the lake, Lake Louisa.
And then, as a result of this confrontation at McDonald's, did you come to any realization with Gio about your father not being who you thought he was?
I saw an anger and a violence in his eyes I had never seen before. And the way he was speaking to Gio, and I saw how angry he was, and that was when he said, I'm done, I'm out. Basically, this mess is yours.
And after that, did y'all install video surveillance around your property?
Yes, we put up cameras. At that point, there was too much animosity. There was too much that was being done behind our backs that at that point we weren't feeling safe.
Did you put up video surveillance around your property?
Yes, cameras.
Okay. After that, was your video surveillance system ever altered or adjusted in any way by anybody other than yourself and your husband?
Yes, the camera cord to our security camera was cut.
How did you know how your camera system was cut and who cut it?
We were in the house. Jeff had been told to get all his stuff off the property because we were done. So he was going into our garage, which is back behind our house. He was going into the garage to get his stuff. He noticed the camera, went behind our shed, cut the camera, and of course we knew he cut the camera because we're in the house, and the camera feed to one of the cameras goes out.
So you saw it with your own eyes, your father cutting the camera feed?
He was behind a shed. Yeah. So he walks behind the shed, the camera feed goes out, Gio goes out to check it, it's been cut.
All right. Now, in and around this time, tell the jury what time frame this is.
This is August of 2018.
Okay. Now, in and around this time, did you have a conversation with your father about life insurance on your husband?
He had, in one of his arguments with Gio, he had told Gio, Karen and I want to pay for $1 million life insurance policy for you. And of course, Gio thought that was odd. He has a job, he has life insurance. So he shared that with me, and I told Gio, I was like, I don't understand, what's the thought process before that? And he said, well, they mentioned the baby, you have our firstborn, our son was gonna be born in November, and he said, but it was odd, it was during one of our conversations about the house, like there was no, like my mom wasn't there, I wasn't there, like, if this was something that was really about the grandbaby, why was this coming up?
And this was during all the tensions?
It never came up until the fighting started.
Now, was there a conversation about a meal ticket. What was that about?
So a meal ticket.
You're messing up my meal ticket.
So with
And if you know,
yeah, I'm not recalling a meal ticket comment.
Was he upset that they weren't allowed to get $1 million policy on Gio's life?
He just seemed flustered, like, anytime we didn't agree with him, it was just, oh, well, you all are stupid. So of course he was upset about it. We weren't agreeing with him.
All right. Did you ever take any action because your father was trespassing on your property?
When he cut the camera cord, we called the sheriffs, because at that point I had tried to reason with him. Gio had tried to reason with him. Trust me, we wanted the family relationship to be good. I had tried until I was blue in the face. And at that point I was like, I don't know what else to do other than to get the police involved.
And did you ever find any personal property of you and your husband Gio missing after the security camera was cut?
Yes, so we had, as I mentioned with this house build, Gio and I are careful about paperwork. And we, when we moved into the cabin, the logs, if you're familiar with log cabins, they have to be stained. So we got bids for someone to treat the wood to preserve it for the cabin. And we got these bids, and again, this was a typical thing of my dad's to do. So he said, oh, hey, like, they're going to charge, $30,000 for this. I'll do it for 10. So we're like, well, this is the big project. This is going to be a lot of work. Are you sure? So we just wrote up a little legal note on a legal pad.
Let me stop you there. Did he ever take, or are you aware of any time that your father had taken any property from you or your husband during that period of time?
That paper went missing.
Okay.
But also things like my husband's tools. Like again, Gio in the Marines, police officer, very orderly.
Okay, that's good. No narrative.
Okay.
Mr. Aguayo can't tie something to Jeff Spence just because something becomes missing or they misplace it or whatever. Doesn't mean that he has done anything.
Unless you can tie it to Mr. Spence, let's move on to that. And yours will
Finding it in
your will disregard that last comment unless you can tie it to something.
After,
I'm sorry. Did you instruct the jury?
I just disregard that last comment.
Thank you.
After the cutting of the surveillance system around your property and calling the sheriff, did you ever have to call the sheriff again?
A couple days later, he came back on the property, and again, this was on our security camera. He pulls a knife out of his pocket, cuts we put a zip tie on the latch in the gate, so just as extra security. So yes, that was cut, and so we called the police again, because at that point, the sheriff that came 2 days
Let me
prior.
stop you there. Who cut it?
Jeff
And
Spence.
entered your property?
Yes,
After having been told not to come back on your property?
correct.
And how did you know that he cut the strip?
It's on camera.
You had it on camera?
Mm-hmm.
Now then, do you recall the last time that you, and I may be wrong about this, but there was a time when they were leaving in the car and you were trying to talk to your mother?
Freeport is testifying, Judge.
That's not testimony, that's background.
I'm going to see where it goes.
Do you recall that situation?
He would call.
Yes or no? Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm really referring to your mother. And I want you to tell the jury, was your mother a part of, did she know what was going on? And how did you know that?
Yes, my mom has always been aware of what's going on, and she has been a driver for him. She was a driver for him when they poisoned the water troughs of a deer farm.
Hold on. No narrative.
Okay, she is always aware.
Okay. Now, you talked about your dad buying and selling junk, for lack of a better word. At times, would he go outside or across state lines during that period of time?
Yes, all the time. Big drives were a thing for him, and my mom would keep us
Objection,
healthy.
ma'am. I have an objection. Unless she can tie it to some basis of knowledge, you can't just be sitting up here accusing whatever's coming.
Rephrase your question as to lay a foundation as to her knowledge.
Do you know why? How did you know that your father would cross state lines?
One particular time he went to Georgia.
Do you know?
Yes, I know he would cross state lines.
All right.
Yes.
And would he take certain precautions when he did that?
Yeah.
He would.
Hey, let's make have a basis of knowledge. Let a basis of knowledge work.
Thank you, Judge.
Do you know whether he took any precautions when he did that?
He would.
Back up a step before that. There's a basis of knowledge that he was leaving the state.
He was around us all the time. He was living with us for 2 years.
Did he ever say where he had been
All the time.
and where he got property?
Yes, because if we went a day without seeing him, that was weird.
And did you ever ask him where he got certain property that made its
Yes,
way on
and
your
so he'd say, oh, I made a run to Georgia.
Okay.
Or I went to South Carolina yesterday.
Now, were you aware of any precautions that he took in order to go to Georgia to buy property to bring back and put in your yard?
He'd leave his cell phone with my mom.
Okay.
How would she know that? Objection.
He told me.
Objection.
Lay a foundation, be basis of knowledge.
How do you know that he would leave his cell phone with your mother?
Through his own mouth, he would tell me.
Now, back to that. Do you recall the incident with your mother leaving in the car that we
Yes.
were talking about earlier?
Yes.
All right. When was that?
It was shortly after all this was happening where he had called her to come pick him up.
Okay. Did she come pick him up?
She came, are you referring to when, so she came to pick him up the first time he was arrested.
I'm talking about the